Hello, welcome to another Bolts analysis. I'm your host Chris. We look at the Tampa Bay Lightning, the rest of the NHL. No Tampa Bay top today. I'm in mourning. I'm in black. There is no hockey. There may never be hockey. I don't even know anymore. I'm just going to drink from my Toronto mug and hope that things blow over. Incidentally, if you haven't watched it yet, check out Simon Pegg and Nick Frost's whole reaction to the coronavirus. I thought it was top notch. Today I am going to be looking at the 5 teams I think have suffered most from the NHL being on pause. And by suffered I mean that if the NHL season had continued, they had a chance to really do something with it, and they'll be annoyed that they didn't get the chance to show that there was something they could do. Starting with number 1 is the Boston Bruins, by some margin I think. The Boston Bruins were the only team when the season had paused to get to 100 points. They were looking very strong indeed, and they were probably one of the favourites to win the Stanley Cup. So I think if any team will go, if they hear that the season has been cancelled, it will be Boston, because they probably thought that this was going to be their year, and it will be a case of, well, you know, will they be in a better place? Will they be any stronger next year? Is Pasternak going to be as good as next year as he has been this year? It would be difficult to top. Chara is only getting older. This is a golden opportunity for the Bruins. I think if the Stanley Cup is not awarded this year, that would be a real shame for the Bruins, because this may be their best opportunity yet. Number 2 is the Philadelphia Flyers. I think for the Flyers, this season has surpassed expectations by some distance, and I think for the Flyers, this was an opportunity not just to go on a deep playoff run, but to actually beat the Pittsburgh Penguins in a series. Because recently, the Flyers have been looking very strong, the Penguins have been very wobbly, and it would have been a playoff series between the two, and the Flyers would have had home ice advantage, which I think would have made a big difference. So I think for the Flyers not being able to sort of show that they could go on a deep playoff run, that they're so much more organised than they were the year before, that they might actually have the edge in the Battle of Pennsylvania, I think for Flyers fans it's very disappointing that it's been paused. But they should still look at it as a positive that they're definitely moving in the right direction. Number 3 is going to be Toronto, because I feel like for Toronto it's really important for them that they actually make the second round of the playoff series, and of course the longer that this pause goes on for, there might not be playoffs this year, and for Toronto that would be another year, therefore technically, where they haven't made it past the first round. Toronto have been very up and down, they've been very difficult to predict, but one thing that does seem to be more consistent is actually how they've been playing against Tampa. When they first played us at the start of the season, we destroyed them 7-3 in their own barn. That was painful. But then Toronto came to the Amalie Arena and won 4-3 and showed off their special teams unit. And then, in the last game before the pause, Toronto beat us again 2-1, this time in Toronto, and once again their power play was clicking. So I think for Toronto, actually just being able to have a playoff series where it's not flipping Boston would have been a great chance for them to A, show that that is not an issue for them, and B, get through to the second round. Of course, that might have ended up being a second round series against Boston, so it wouldn't necessarily have been all positive. But I think for Toronto, there's a big monkey they're trying to get off their back, and the longer this pause goes on for, the longer the monkey stays on the back. Number 4 is probably us, Tampa Bay Lightning. We have been having a very good regular season, but for most of us fans, and indeed for teams who do not like us, they will judge us on one thing. What are you going to do in the postseason? What are you going to do in the playoffs? And until, again, we have those playoffs, we will not be able to truly dispel the memory that is being swept by Columbus in the first round of last year's playoffs. Even though we won the President's Trophy, what's up with that? I'm still asking that question. I think for us, it's not necessarily all about sort of, getting past the first round. It would just be winning a game in the first round, because, that would still be an improvement on last season's performance in the playoffs. So I think for us, it would be good if the playoffs did come back, or if there was any sort of format of the playoffs just for us. We've pretty much got there, but just for us to be able to show that we can do something, that we're not just a good regular season team, we're a good team all round. And of course, until the season resumes, we won't know. People will just look at us and go, oh yeah, good October to April. Are they going to be around come May? No, not really, no. And number 5, and I'm going to cheat a little bit on number 5, but I do feel like it's important to point out that this is kind of frustrating for all of us. The other two teams that are probably miffed that the season has come to a pause are Edmonton and Calgary, coming in jointly at number 5. Where's our Battle of Alberta? Where's our Battle of Alberta? Where's our Battle of Alberta? We were all looking forward to that being a first round matchup. Edmonton Oilers and Calgary Flames duking it out for possibly, at least 4 games, possibly even 7 games. Can you imagine 7 games of Edmonton-Calgary? We've already had 4 in the regular season. They've all been bonkers, especially the last one with the goalie fights and Riddick being pulled but having to go back in, and 8 goals for the Oilers in Calgary and all that madness, and thinking back to the shootout before then. Man, it would have been quite the series. And also, I think, for the Canadian teams, it would have been an opportunity to show that, hey, unlike last year, a Canadian team can get to the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Remember, 3 teams from Canada made it to the playoffs last year, and they all went crashing out. Winnipeg went out to St. Louis, Calgary almost got swept by Colorado, and Toronto did the classic thing of losing in Game 7 to the Boston Bruins, to the Boston Bruins, to the Boston Bruins. So I think it would be good to see the season resume just to get Edmonton versus Calgary, if nothing else. You know, I would give my right hand for such a thing. I think it would be fantastic. It would really get that rivalry going again, and it could help strengthen the push for any Canadian team to make the Stanley Cup, because, hey, one of them would be making a relatively decent run in the playoffs, because one of them would have to go through. But that is it from me. This has been another Bolts analysis. Next time I'm going to be looking at the 5 teams who are probably quite grateful that the season has paused, and we'll go into a bit more detail about why that is. Thank you very much for watching, and remember, we have made it through a week without hockey. We could probably make it through a few more. Please come back. I promise it'll be different this time.